Hi everyone. I'm going to talk a little bit about your midterm assignment. I know we will meet next week and hope every one of you can make it. I really want to take this time as an assessment and adjustment, both for me, TA, and you all. And I think it's time for us to think about this class, what being going through, what we've covered, and what questions that you have, what suggestions that you have going forward, and also make adjustment in terms of assignment and anything else as well. So before meeting you, I do want to talk a little bit about the midterm assignment. I know some of you are very confused, but here in the syllabus, I write literary bibliography, and the task is to train your ability to make dialogues with academic discourse on Chinese literature, identify a list of secondary resources. So it's not the primary resources, but secondary resources, meaning if I talk about a writer like Lu Xun or Shen Congwen, then it's the research on them. So on the topic you pick, it could be any Chinese writer, and it could be a theme or a topic. So for instance, I want to talk about Chinese modernity. Of course, this is a huge topic, so I don't suggest you doing that, but you could. And you could talk about Chinese urbanization or woman identity. So that may touch on different cultural issues that we talk about as in this class. And do research, then write some commentary on the resources. So that includes summary of the arguments and evidence, then provide your own understanding. And it's 4 to 6 pages, 1.5 line space, times and 12 point. So midterm project is due on Saturday, October 24th. And again, I want to tell you that I think I should use a very specific term. So it's not the bibliography that you see as in some of the papers, at the end of our paper, usually it's just the citation and reference list, not just that. It's actually just an extended version of that. So we call it annotated bibliography. So what is annotated bibliography? So basically, you will go online, and we'll talk a little bit about how to search these resources in a little bit. So what we need to look at is you find these resources, and then you will summarize what they talk about, the argument, and how they come to this argument, right? So maybe there are several points that come to this argument, and then assess their strength and weakness. So what you agree or disagree, and if you agree, why, or if you disagree, why. Or you could say, well, I agree partially because, or through the reading that I've read, I found this and that, right? And so background information, that's how it relates to the readings that you read, and also the relevance to your topic and your own interest. So this assignment is actually hoping to help you build into your final project, especially if you're writing an argumentative essay in the final project. So I do know that I provide you with different options for your final, but if you want to write argumentative essay, so this actually could be a built-in homework to it as well. So let's see how you actually get to these resources. So I'm going to share my screen with you. So here, you will go to the library website. So UH Library, just usually use Google search UH Library. And then you click into this library, right? And then you, for this task, of course, you can cite different books. So for instance, you can see a lot of books in my bookshelf. So if I write on one writer, then I probably search all the books on that writer. But for this short project, I just want you to search like journal articles. So you will go to database. So for journal articles in our field, usually we would like to use EBSCO or use JSTOR. I really like JSTOR, so that's a common one I use. So you start with J, and then you go to JSTOR, and then you click onto it, right? And then it will ask you to sign in. Okay, so Suppose that I'm interested in this writer, Lu Xun. Then you just search Lu Xun, and usually you have to use the quotation mark to be together. Otherwise, they will search a bunch of things about Lu and Xun. So here you could see, well, there are different things about Lu Xun. So maybe there are too much, right? So if it's too much, then I can specify a very specific topic. So for instance, I'm particularly interested in Lu Xun in translation, right? What's if his words is seen as a cultural translation or the translation of his works, or I could also search, oh, Lu Xun and modernity, right? So from here, you could see where not many, right? And you don't have to narrow down, but it's, it's maybe easier to narrow down for your future project. So here there are a few. So see, I choose these free articles, for instance, and then I would download PDF and then to my computer, and then I will read them and then highlight them, right? So what you need to do is, find these resources on JSTOR, and then like download the PDF, read them, and then do your analysis of it. So in the previous homework in your discussion board, we learned to discuss the text itself. So we learned to discuss primary resources. And now we need to learn to discuss secondary resources, which are the research on these primary resources, right? The research on Lu Xun, on Shen Cengwen, on Lao She, on Xiao Hong, and all these writers. So see what other critics say. So what you need to do, like I say, is to summarize their argument and then really to elaborate on your own opinion. So here I want to share with you one of the very good example of literary annotated bibliography from my previous student. And I also would upload this online. So here's one good example of how. So he starts with this, a little introduction of what his main topic is, traditional Chinese literature were easily accessible in a translated language. So he's talking about Chinese literature and translation. So again, you can choose a topic as well, not only just like writers. You could choose a big topic like that. So he chooses, and then he does research, right, on several, as you can see, he lists, like this is, how you list your bibliography, like in the bibliography or citation list at the end of any paper. And then you can see he has 5 sources here. And so each sources, he has one paragraph. And what does he do in this paragraph? Let's just look at an example. They're pretty similar. So he first summarizes what this writer says, right? So usually it's like, oh, this writer states or argues or claims this argument. And to support this argument, he lists certain example, or, like different themes that illustrate that in the book. And then what's your impression? Like he says, oh, well, one of the points that stuck out to me is this, right? And I think it is a very interesting concept. So, basically talking about his own opinion of this book, again, this article, and then how it's relevant to his own interest. And if he, validates this point or invalidate it, right? And if he does, like what example he would like to add or give, right? So sometimes if something stood out to you, you can also point out a specific example as well. So previously, some of the common mistakes are like, oh, usually just summarize the argument, don't list why, or summarize the argument but doesn't really give your own argument, your own opinion. So as you can see from your previous discussion board or this assignment or later assignment, what we want to hear is actually your own voice, right? So I don't want to hear too much about what others say. Of course, like you need to summarize what others say, but what is most important is your own voice and how to express your opinion towards these arguments as well. So again, this is an annotated bibliography, and it's supposed to be, learn to do research. This is usually the first step when you really need to go into do research, humanities research, writing a annotated essay or critical essay, and then you will first find what the scholars say about this topic and what you can add to this topic. So this is a very important assignment, and I think you will have fun because you will find a lot of different arguments which you want to argue for or want to argue against. Hope you have fun with it, and shoot me an email if you have any question. Thank you.